Welcome to the Asset Mindset Podcast, where we don't wait for opportunities, we create them. I'm your host, Daniel Fielding, former Green Beret, and author of The Asset Mindset, a motivational speaker and a life coach. But enough about me. Let's go and meet today's very special guest, Miles Spencer. Miles, say hello and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for having me. I'm Miles Spencer, just a curious kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Well, it's great to have you here, and I can't wait to dive into all your curiosity, because you have lots of curiosities I've seen when I've done my little bit of research on you. You've done quite the array of things. But in each episode, we dive deep into the mindset, habits, and mission-driven thinking that turn everyday people into high performers like yourself and real-life warriors. This isn't about motivation, it's about transformation. So I'm going to ask you, what was your first major transformational moment that you decided, like, I can't live like this, I need to change?
I'm going to go back to when I was 14 years old. Again, curious kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, always asking who, what, why, where, when. Drove my parents crazy, by the way. And without consulting me, they decided to move from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the center of pretty good football, to Stowe, Vermont. Very nice part of the world, but no football team. I was a fish out of water. I played soccer for about 5 minutes, and then I realized I wanted to go find a school where they played football. So back in the day, I would go to the library and look up different schools. And I can remember the moment. So I want to apply out to boarding school. And parents were like, wow, really? And there's a guy by the name of Chris who was in the kitchen. And he said, like, well, if you want to do it for football, go to this particular school. I called him. I said, hey, you have a football team? Yeah. Send me an application. And sure enough, when I did my interview, it was the football coach who worked in admissions, who knew the coach from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually Beaver, Pennsylvania, Coach Pat Tarquinio. Kind of just like tore the corner of the application. He said, like, I'll see you in September. And that was it. So it basically was transformative in that at 13 years old, I realized I could take agency of my life. I could go out on an adventure and discover and be curious and learn some things and bring them back home. And that was the one that came to mind when you asked the question. I probably have a couple more.
I'm sure you do, but that's a very defining one, especially at that age, to learn a lesson like that you can help take direction of your life, that you're the driver of your life. You're not just a victim to circumstances and things that happen. So how did that change you going forward?
Well, I'm going to share another story, and this came from last weekend. We're jumping with the round canopy parachute team because we're going to jump with the 82nd Airborne in Normandy, commemorating the 82nd anniversary of the D-Day invasion. And what I learned was when you're out the door, this happened to be a caravan, but we're jumping a C-47 in March. There's nobody else going to come help you. Your life is in your hands, and you could bitch and moan. Can I say that?
Say whatever you want. Speak freely.
Bitch and moan about like the sticker that the jump master had on his helmet, and the pilot gave me a weird look, and he hurt my feelings. Okay, well, great. If you're free falling, that 10 seconds just cost you 2,000 feet. And if you're in a round canopy from 1,200 feet, you only got 60 seconds to figure it all out. You got the rest of your life to figure it all out, but it's really 60 seconds, right? So nobody's coming to help you. You got to figure it out for yourself. Sure, others will come along. Others will be on the team. But having that understanding that it's on you, your life is on you. Those are the two bookends. So it's 13 years old and 62 out the door this weekend.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things I'll give you advice, and that I do with a lot of people, like you're saying, take ownership of it. When you jump out of a plane and say you have a cigarette roll or a major malfunction, don't fight it. When you got to cut away and move on to your reserve. If you're
I
in a bad
divorced thee.
situation, yes,
Right.
you gotta you gotta go through a change in relationship and divorce, cut away. It's a bad job situation, cut away and start fresh. Because otherwise you're just wasting your time and sooner or later that time runs out and it's gonna go splat. So
That's right. That's right.
that's my little jumping advice there. And don't forget to bicycle. Don't panic right away. If it spun up a little bit, do your legs and bicycle moves, and
I
you can straighten your chute out, but don't spend too much time with
I did do I had a twist on, a jump this weekend
it.
and, well, I remember that slide in training. It's like, yeah, it's like, pull, bicycle, worked out fine. I had a little less time to figure out, my optimal landing location, but, I didn't hit the tarmac, so
Well, that's good. And hey, you're here. So
that's
you
right.
had a great, wonderful landing. Well, yeah, I've had a few twists. Have you had a collision yet? Have you ever collided
I
with
have
somebody in
not
there?
had a, spread eagle, right? Push away, go back out the way that you came. I have not have I practiced them in harnesses. I've not had one of those yet. They're only whatever four on the stick in
Okay.
each stick in a caravan, so it's probably less likely to happen. But no, haven't
Yeah.
had
And you're
one
not
yet.
jumping double doors like the 82nd, right? One on each side. That's when it happened to me because we both ended up. You start off, yeah, staggering, but once people are going out the door, they're doing what
That's
they're
right.
doing.
Right. And depending on the altitude, the wind's blowing up there, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets interesting pretty quickly. Yeah.
So, did you serve? What's your interest with jumping and the 82nd? Tell us a little bit about this story of yours.
Yeah. So, answer no. I came from a military family. I basically had to make my bed in the morning and pass inspection like military, but that was just growing up. But I did not serve. Having said that, a lot of friends that did. I happened to have taken a long hike. Remember, curious kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I decided that Seven Pillars of Wisdom was a very good way to understand the Middle East, and so it's T.E. Lawrence book. And so we hiked 1,100 kilometers from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to Damascus, Syria, on camel and foot and horseback. And I did that with a Navy Special Forces parachute rescue uh, i- uh, um, veteran that was also parachuting with me this weekend in Palatka. And um, I I've been around lots. I have a tremendous respect for those that serve, and we had the opportunity through my existing business to actually record and preserve the stories of these men and women better than a book, better than a Polaroid picture, better than a love letter, better than a last letter. We actually have a platform now that uses AI to enable a spontaneous and dynamic conversation based on those stories. And so we'll be doing that for a heck of a lot of veterans. We started out with those from Brown Canopy.
Nice. And this is Reflector you're talking about, which is also
Yeah.
the sign behind you, correct?
That is correct. Do a lot of podcasts with that behind me. So yeah, Reflect is a platform that we created 9 months ago. I've always been about legacy and family and stories and this concept of intergenerational storytelling. Now, we've had the technology to tell stories for, well, look, back in the day, it used to be just the word of mouth. They would pass them
Hmm.
on. And then the Egyptians did a pretty good job with the cartouches and the pyramids. And then, the monks, sort of got pretty good at the calligraphy. And you had Polaroid pictures and you had daguerreotypes during the Civil War, right? These are all devices that allow us to perpetuate memory, but they're not very good. Right? They're usually up in the attic in a shoebox gathering dust, right? You go back to Thanksgiving, like, oh, wow, yeah. Well, who was this again? Like, what? Whose writing is that? So 9 months ago, myself and my co-founder, Adam Drake, realized that a new technology had arrived and we could actually pull all of this into a cloud, analyze it through AI, and create a timeline and a persona and a recognizable image and likeness of a loved one where whether they have passed or they're living, and those stories last for eternity. So my father, on his last day, he said to me, "Son, this body is temporal, right? It's gonna go. It's like an envelope. It's gonna get stamped. But my spirit and soul are eternal. And when you can reconnect with that, you'll have me the rest of your life." So that was 8 years ago. We didn't have the technology. Like, all right. Well, we found a copy of his voice in his granddaughter's voicemail 5 years after he passed. Combined that with all the stories that we had put into the Reflector platform, and you could go on Reflector right now, sign in, it's free. You could talk to my dad. I'm looking at it right now. It's 6,950 people have had conversations with my dad in the last 30 days,
Wow.
right? A very popular guy. That voice was printed off of a voicemail, and his stories will live forever because of the technology. So imagine what that could do for you, your family, whether it's someone that's passed that you'd like to recreate their stories and pass them down, or someone that's a senior or military or a person of faith, or perhaps they have Alzheimer's, perhaps they have some other life ending disease. And as an African saying, when a person dies, an entire library burns to the ground, the library of their stories. And so, you get those stories and you get them on our platform and you can preserve them for not just a lifetime, but for eternity. My father read a bedtime story to my daughter last night, and then they talked about it until she fell asleep. She knew him for 5 years, but she hasn't been able to speak to him for 8. And now she's reconnected with him and she considers him part of the family. I'll add one more. Thanksgiving, my sister forgot the recipe for elderberry pie. Now, this is a dramatic situation. This is like this is drama in the Spencer household, all right? So we dialed up mom on the iPad, and she walked my sister through making the elderberry pie with the flaky crust because she used fluffo shortening and the right amount of sugar to combine with the very tart elderberries to make a perfect pie. My mom passed away 25 years ago.
Wow. Incredible.
That's
So it's not
that.
just entertainment stories, it's knowledge too that can be passed down through generations.
Amen. Amen.
What a powerful tool. What an amazing time to be alive where we are now transitioning to that. A lot of people get scared of AI. And,
Absolutely.
just like anything, I think it's a tool. It can be used for good or bad. You could take a hammer and build a house, or you could smash someone's skull in. I think AI is getting a bad rap in a lot of ways. I do think there's people out there that could be bad players, but your story and what you're doing now, I think that's incredibly positive.
Thank you. It's when we debuted at AI4 in Vegas last year, we were called like AI for humanity, right? And that's very nice. But those that are scared, it's Black Mirror, it's Ghostbusters, it's you're conjuring up spirits that shouldn't be here, etc. There's that crowd, and then there's the crowd that AI is going to take my job, so they're afraid of it, right? But you hit it. It's just another technology. We happen to be using it for intergenerational storytelling to be more efficient. Remember when the web first came out? It's like there was AOL, right? It's like hang around.
Mhm.
AOL is safe. It's a walled garden. No one will call you names, etc. Don't want to go out to the World Wide Web on your own. And yeah, we got over it. Daguerreotypes, Civil War. I remember asking to take over this one, the Civil War. I was taking an old-fashioned photo in Kenya, and I asked some Maasai tribesmen, it's like, "Can I take your photos?" Like, all dressed up, looking good. And he said, "No, some part of my spirit will be taken." I don't want that technology in my life, right? And to a certain extent, some people feel like that might be what's going on here, but I'll make this perfectly clear. Look, Reflector is default private, family to family, so uh, it's not gonna go out there demon dialing for credit cards. Um, all of the information is approved by the keeper, the person that is the editor, and so there's no deep fakes from outside, there's no celebrity retells, there's no hallucination. What you put in is is what you get, right? So that addresses some people's, concerns, but still, half of the world's not ready for this. That's okay.
Yep. No, that's what happens, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are gonna be grateful for it. Those that are ready and willing to take the leap out the plane, right? They're ready to take that
That's
jump.
right. That's right.
So, I know for myself, you touched something in me because my father's passed as well too, 11 years ago now, in 2015, and you talked about stories. Like, we had stories, different things. In my book, I share a story about cutting, a tree down with him, and then I dug the stump out by hand for $100 bet. And, I was 12 years old, and they're like, "No way a kid's gonna be able to do that." And nobody really knows that story like him and I.
Mm,
His buddy was there. He was like, "Hey, take the bet. He needs to learn, what his word is. And if he can't do it in the weekend, then he needs to pay you that $100." And, back in the 80s, $100 was a lot of money for a 12-year-old kid. And, yeah, that story's gone. Boy, would I love to hear him laugh or joke or talk about that story again. Even if it directly wasn't him, but it resonated, that would be a special
Daniel
thing.
Daniel, on my heart, actually, I got my pins this weekend. I was not aware of the tradition in which they actually hammer said pins, into
Blood wings, yes.
into like so. But on my blood wings, I promise you those stories aren't gone. You start when you're ready, you're past grieving, when you're into preserving that legacy and passing it on for future generations, you have a conversation with our biographer and you start to build that timeline of the person. It doesn't have to be gone. You can use Reflecta to make that into an intergenerational story for your family.
Yeah, and that would be great for my daughters 'cause, my son knew my dad,
Mhm.
just like, your daughters spent time with your dad.
Yeah,
But my, middle child, daughter, she was born after he died,
yeah.
like 11 months afterwards, and then my
Well,
youngest obviously wasn't around, so neither one of them they see pictures and hear stories about Grampy and all that, and they don't know, and I wish they did, and that's for me, one of my things and goals in life, we're trying to be healthy at 50 years old, fit and 50, is I wanna be there for my kids' kids. I wanted them to be able
right.
to, interact with me and know who their grandfather was, because I had a grandfather I never got to meet. Bill
Mhm.
Mavrides, my mom's dad. He passed
Yeah,
away before I was born. And so I've had that experience like, "Gee, I wonder what my grandpa was like," because most people have their grandparents, at least for a little while.
many, yeah.
And I didn't have that, and then my daughters are not having that, and I'm like, "I don't want them to go without it." And it sounds like there might be a way that there will be a greater connection in the future, which is
It's
very, warming and
it's
special.
about yeah, it's a bit it's Daniel, it's about the connection. We have a woman on our team, it's on the website, her name is Kelsey. Her father passed away 3 months before she was born. She's 25 now, and she got engaged. And the first thing she wanted to do is introduce her fiancé to her father.
Hmm.
And so she used the reflection of her father, and her fiancé had a conversation with her, and her father gave some advice for the toast on the wedding day, and it, it was what she really needed. It's a beautiful story. There's a video of it on our website, but just one of many beautiful stories from people on our team that and others now that have used Reflecta to preserve those intergenerational stories. Otherwise, they will be lost.
Yeah, what a special time to be alive. But I want to dive into stories too, because you have your A Line in the Sand. Let's hear about that story. You brought it up a little bit earlier, your adventure and your curiosity. Tell us about that story and how it became a book.
It did. There's a second one I'll tell you about in a minute, but I have a wonderful adventure partner, Wells Jones. I mentioned Navy X Special Parachute Rescue Team. He was actually, I believe, the fifth person out the door to Antarctica. Halo jump, 61 degrees below zero, rescue mission. Like, not as much fun as it sounds. Uh, okay. So 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 he and I, were talking after 9/11, a couple years after 9/11. It's like, what is going on over there? And what are those people thinking? And we couldn't really get our hands around a decent explanation until we fell upon the book, Seven Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence. Both had read the book and kind of looked at each other and said, like, wow, this is really prescient. What should we do next? Let's go. So luckily I had a prior book. I got an invitation to speak in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in front of a business group. And that business group introduced me to us both, to Prince. His name is Prince Khalid, Prince Khalid bin Faisal Al Saman. And he gave us free passage through the kingdom. And the note still worked pretty well in Jordan and also in Syria. So we went from Jeddah to Damascus, Syria, through about 26 days, got to know people, places, really retracing the route that T.E. Lawrence took during the Arab Revolt. The deal was back then, you talk about basically the major theme of the book and all of those that have followed is white men behaving badly in clubs in London and Paris and the rest. So what was it about? It was about, oh, okay, look, if we get the Arabs to revolt against the Ottomans, then that'll help us, offset a little bit, right? It's like a side guerrilla force. Oh, Lawrence, not an Arab, ended up leading said Arabs. But the deal was if you get to Damascus first, you can have a pan-Arabic kingdom, and the Hashemites, who were in the Hijaz, would rule it. It's like, good deal, let's go. At the same time, they had also promised the French that since so many French had died in the trenches in World War I, that they could have it too. But news didn't travel so fast back then. So Lawrence and Faisal roll into Damascus and like, first. And General Allenby said, like, did some paperwork. Let's manage our expectations. And I said, come on, like, just like a point. Anyways, he said, I'm a military guy. I don't govern, the guys with the paperwork are coming. It was the French. It's like, hey, look, we've been here 1,000 years. You know about the Crusades? So yeah, that's us. And Lebanon, Levant, Syria included in that. It should be ours because a lot of ours died, 10,000 miles away. The Arab revolt was ended, or did it just begin? Right. And so that's agreement. It's called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. They literally, when you see Arab protests around colonialism, imperialism, etc., somebody's going to have a sign that says F Sykes-Picot, right? It's basically double dealing from white guys behaving badly in clubs in Europe, right? So we had this adventure. P.S. We ended up working with the Prince for several years,
which is interesting.
It was very interesting. So we had access at a level that was, unbelievable. And one thing we learned, among many others, were I'll give you two things. We're approaching Magar al Sheb, and this is a holy site in the northwest corner of Saudi Arabia. You can see Jordan, you could see Israel, you could see Neama Bay from there. And our guide is going on about Musa, Ezra, Hagar. And it's like, you know, where'd you get those stories? Like, oh, I got them from the Quran. It's like, that's from my book. That's in the Bible, right? And so I called a friend. I got a satellite phone. I called a friend in Tel Aviv, a Talmudic scholar. I said, hey, look, how many of these prophets are in the Torah? And we went like 12 for 12. Well, the reality was, my takeaway was these three religions share all the same prophets, all the same sand and desert, all the same stories, just slightly different interpretations along the way that get magnified and turned into extremism, and that's where the trouble begins, right? That's one of the things that we learned on our trek. And so we wrote a book. It's called A Line in the Sand. It was a #1 seller last year in historical fiction category on Amazon Digital Publishing in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Syria. First time that's happened. But the two adventurers, their name are Magnus and Finn, loosely based around somebody I've just been talking about. And historical fiction is much easier to write because you don't have to do all the research. They have a second adventure which comes out next month, which is called Havana Familia. And that's about a similar adventure that happened in Havana, Cuba. And presto, guess what? Havana, Cuba is in the headlines because of what's going on in Venezuela and what's about to go down in Havana. So it's called Havana Familia, and it's on Amazon as well.
Wow. The Cuban family, Familia.
Well, and interestingly enough, it's spelled Familia with a G because the people that ran Cuba from the 20s to the almost 1960, 1958 was the mob. I mean, Havana was 10x what Vegas is today. Until things got dodgy with the revolution, the mob controlled Havana, and it was a swinging place.
Oh, it was super happening.
It might be again. It might be again.
Yeah. Well, the world's always changing. That's one of the consistents. And let's get into that change a little bit and transformation. For people that are maybe listening right now, what advice would you give them to transform their life or make a difference or find a purpose?
Well, there's three to unpack there. To transform, I believe the most crucial thing is to start, right? Like, I didn't know we were going to do this when I first set foot in Saudi, or I didn't know we were going to create a AI company that did intergenerational storytelling. I didn't know I was going to get arrested, interrogated in Havana, Cuba, and make a great story out of it. But it began with the first step and that curiosity, which allowed me to do the research, be prepared, and then have the ability and the confidence to observe what was around and to bring that back, right, to people for a chance at understanding a place they may never go, a cuisine they may never eat, a culture they may never experience. And so we call ours adventures of understanding, journeys of understanding, because we're not just going to say like, hey, I did Everest, like, good for me, right? We bring something back from each adventure, and that was crucial. And I guess that's the final part of my multi-part answer to your question. And that is, it's not the destination because frankly, you don't know what it is. It's the
Wise,
journey.
wise words right there.
It's the
Just
journey.
start, because I never thought I'd have a podcast. I never thought, like you, grew up blue collar family, whatnot, and working, joined the military. I never thought I'd write a book, but I did. Like these things, you just have to start moving. And it's amazing when you start moving how the path can take you in different directions and it turns and twists and it can change you and take your life in an amazing adventure and you'll reach goals and dreams you never thought you could. But if you don't start, you don't take the first step, you don't leap out of the plane, whatever it is, you got to move.
You gotta move. You gotta
Yeah.
move.
So in all of this going on, that you have in your history and your curiosity, what have you learned about people and building a tribe or surrounding yourself with good people?
Well, the first thing I've learned about people is you can't control what they do. You can only control how you respond to what they do. Even in the military, they're given an order, you think you control what they do. Guess what? They could choose to not obey that order. There will be trouble coming. But in life, it is humbling to learn and to accept that other people make choices and you don't get to choose for them. Mm, you don't necessarily get to stop them from making those choices. If you try to, they're probably going to resent it and you let it happen. And then you get to choose how you respond to it. So that's the first half of the question. How do you build that tribe of people around you? You know, I said to someone near and dear to my heart last year, I said, I want to spend more time with less people. It's not about the number of likes and the number of comments and the number of friends on social or this or that and the other thing. It's not the number of people that come to the party, etc. Right? I would trade all of it for dinner for six and a 5-hour conversation on a picnic table under the willow tree for any of the rest of that. Solve the problems of the world. So to be honest, I have uh, it's nickels, dimes, and quarters of friendships, right? I have a handful of quarters. I spend most of my time with them.
No, it's wise words. I have a good friend of mine that's like that. He's reached a level now that's most of us would never dream about. He started a foundation, actually do mission trips with his foundation down to Guatemala and whatnot. And we were talking over New Year's, and he's like, I could hang out with so many different people right now, or people want to be around me. But he goes, I find myself, I just want to be around good people doing good things. I don't care their status. I don't care this or that. If they have a purpose, a good heart, and they're making the world a better place, that's who I want to hang around. And I was like, I hear that.
Amen to
Lima
that.
Charlie, loud and clear,
Yeah.
you know, and that will shape and change the quality of your life too. We all hear like, oh, it's the 5 people you surround yourself the most with. And there's a lot to it. That's why it is a saying. And that's why people share that. And if you can get the quality people around you, they're going to lift you up and they're going to open doors for you, or they're going to give you a boost or when you're feeling down. But don't forget, be an asset for them too.
Yeah. So you a net taker or net giver? Um, and that's not just material things, but um, spiritual and emotional things as well. You ask yourself after spending time with this person or that, I feel uplifted? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel drained? Feel exhausted? And use that marker to make the decision about the next time you get the invite. Yeah.
No, absolutely. You can tell people's energy and different things. And if you're exhausted and drained, or people are just complaining on you and they bring you down, and we all have family members like that or friends that we grew up with. And I hate to say it, but that's, setting boundaries becomes very important as we
Okay.
move further in life because sometimes you want to help them, but there's a point where, they have to take ownership. Like you spoke about earlier, you can't control other people. They're going to do what they do. And sometimes setting a boundary and saying, hey, this is left and right limits. Like, I'm not hanging out with you. If you're going to be like that, sorry. That might help them grow. That's tough love sometimes.
It
And
is.
tough love can be very important.
It is. It is.
So you're a dad. Talk to us about that. You have all this curiosity, wisdom in life. What's it like for you being a dad?
Well, I talk about ventures and adventures. That by far is the biggest adventure of all, which is having kids at 50. And so, yeah, my goal was to be, not just fit at 50, but um, I did the math and I'm thinking, I want to be returning punts and kicking the ball around with my son or daughter when they're 18. Now, unfortunately, my son chose rugby, which is not an
Conducive to being
easy
70.
that's not an easy sport to be hanging around. I do my best, and God bless, I say yes a lot. "Hey, wanna go out possible?" "Yes." It's like, there's no more, "I'm busy, I gotta finish this proposal, I gotta finish this." We're like, "Yes, because I can work after their sleep." Um, and my daughter, God bless her, chose wisely. She likes volleyball. I was a beach volleyball player for 10 years. So I know, once again, she says, "You wanna bump the volleyball?" Yeah, that's an automatic yes. But I'll be able to play that long after I can play rugby with my son, I can guarantee it. Um, so I'll give you that, say yes, be fit, but also know that they are sponges. And so how you treat other people comes crucially important, right? Because they'll watch how you treat their mom, how you treat other adults in their life, how you treat other kids, what you say, how you handle yourself. Man, they're sponges, and you really got to up your game because they're watching. They're watching.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful for listeners out there. They're watching because you can tell them and say whatever you want to say. Your actions speak louder than your words by
Yeah,
far. You can say, hey, be kind, be nice, use your manners. But if you don't use yours
right.
and you have an attitude sometimes, yeah, that's what they're going to truly learn.
Yeah, try
So,
getting your kid to make their bed and clean up their room if you don't make your bed and clean up your room. It's another thing I learned from the Saudis. Energy, energy, energy.
yeah, energy is important, especially with AI. You must know all about that.
Yeah, they've actually, we could do a whole nother podcast on, the Saudi bet, using oil money to basically become number 3 in the world in AI in the last 12 months. They have the power, energy to do it. They bought the compute from all the big players, and now they're using it basically to create stories, which is why we'll probably partner with them.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics world changing, but then again, the world's always changed. I hate when people get so stuck on the doomsday. Doomsday, doomsday. You can go back in time, Y2K, doomsday, doomsday,
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh my God, the world's going to fall apart. Computers weren't programmed to handle 2000 years, There's other things, whether it's global warming, freezing. Well, there's always been something. And yeah, someday something bad's going to happen, but
I call it Chicken Little syndrome, right? I mean, a lot has been made out of Chicken Little syndrome. And to be honest, the last 100 years, the ones that made a good chunk of it was media. Yeah, like traffic and weather, right? Tune in because it might be a storm coming. Okay, right. And like Home Depot selling salt and and, and plywood or whatever it is, right? because the storm may be coming. That's true. It may be.
Yeah, it
Right.
may be. And the funny thing about reality is it's pretty much never an extreme. You can
Yeah.
think of the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And reality's probably going to be somewhere in between because the odds of the worst thing happening are very slim. The odds of the perfect thing happening are very slim.
Yeah.
So reality's in between. So
Usually.
anyway, so I want to get into all the things that you've built. This entrepreneur style curiosity, I guess, is a big part of, what you attribute your entrepreneur lifestyle and all the different things you've done. It's very eclectic all over the place, even painting. I love it. Talk to us about following passions.
Well, people ask me, what do you do? Uh, I admit, number one, I am entirely unemployable. Just never going to happen. Um, but my dad told me, find what you love and it's not work. And, I found some cool businesses along the way. I had a touch for media and entertainment, and that seemed to work for me, and it was fun. I don't know how much I actually gave to the world as a result of creating that. Reflector has been a big culmination of all those things. But again, kind of do what you love, which is storytelling, intergenerational legacy, respect, morals, values. They all kind of come into one, big purple logo, which is Reflector. And that's so following that passion, figuring out a way, finding what you love, then figuring out a way to make money at it or to support yourself. That's uh I'd say that's number one. You can go get a job anywhere, right? You can burn yourself out, fine. But um find what you love and it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I tell people all the time, if you're stuck working, that's fine. But after work or on the weekends, on days off, you need to work for yourself. Work for your dreams, work for
Yeah.
your passions. Because what I see sometimes, especially in my younger years, is boy, people work all week just to get to the weekend, to sleep in, to, then go out, have some drinks with friends, watch football game or whatever sports that weekend, and spend all their time just decompressing or whatever. And then they're right back at work and they don't work on their dreams. So
It's a
that is some.
choice. It's a choice. I mean, it's okay. I mean, frankly, it's okay. But don't complain later, right? Look, I mean, podcasts are the ultimate example of the fragmentation of the media. It used to be like, get on the big three shows or never mind, right? And now you have all these different segments with all these different topics and hosts like you that have created a following around this topic or that topic or this demographic. That never existed before. It's a great side hustle till it becomes a business. Right? It's like, I know, especially immigrants, that'll have 2 or 3 or 4 things going
Yeah.
until one gets so big that, they leave the others behind. God bless them.
Yeah. And that's what people need to do. And that's part of the asset mindset philosophy is working towards your goals and dreams, surrounding yourself with good people in positive environments. And then you be a positive person and an asset to others.
Yeah.
You do those three things. That's a recipe for having a good life.
Yeah. Amen.
You know? So what do you think? And I have a feeling you just go to curiosity. So I'm going to take that off the table. What do you attribute your greatest success to? Like what characteristic or
I think it's important to recognize luck and timing like a lady at the door. There's a knock. It's like, don't open the door like or the little panel and say, "Who is that? Why are you here?" Like, come on in. have a seat, sit down, put your feet up. What would how can I help, etc. Make yourself comfortable. If you're luck and your timing, stick around, right? And so let them in. Second, and probably goes to before the knock on the door comes, is be prepared, which goes to do what you love. Be extremely good at what you love. Before you hike 1,100 miles through the deserts of Saudi, Jordan, and Syria, read the book, learn the language, do the K&R training so the insurance policy actually kicks in when your beacon goes off, right? Like, as they say in the desert, Wadi Rum. This is like, look, trust in God, but tie your camel to a tree. Right? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hear one like, you can trust in God and God will take care of you. He takes care of the birds. Well, guess what? The bird still has to get up and get the worm early in the morning. It's not that given. Like it's out there. God puts it out there, but you still need to take
Do your
flight,
part.
do the work. Yeah.
Do your part. Do your part. Yeah.
Please do your part, people. Oh, this is fantastic. So you've talked about life and all these things, and you have so much wisdom, and I see the joy in being a dad, and I know you get to share that wisdom with them. If you could do the time machine, what wisdom would you share with like I don't know, say 7 to 10-year-old you?
So we're going back, not forward. Yeah. All right, kid. Two things. One, as we've said, do what you love. Two, pick your friends and partners wisely. Three, good mustard will save any dish.
I love it. A little comic relief, but truth. It can. I think it's really good that, children, I don't think they realize, and heck, some adults don't even realize this, is that you need good friends or good people around you. What's cool isn't necessarily cool in life.
Yeah.
When you're growing up and you're trying to figure things out and trying to create those friends in school and whatnot, boy, it would be nice to know to pick them wiser. I think that's
Yeah.
great advice,
Yeah.
you know. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with the Asset Mindset audience and crew. And please, everybody that watched, don't forget to listen, like, and subscribe. And please do that because we're doing positive things. Miles is doing positive things. Reflecta is doing positive things. And you can go in the description and find out more about Reflecta as well. And more than anything, before we go, I want you to leave some last wisdom, Miles, because you have so much.
Wow. Um, I think my last piece of advice might be yesterday was MLK, Martin Luther King's birthday, right? And we put posters on walls and things up to remember those that we revere and those that we want to model ourselves after. But think of who they are and why we want to model ourselves, and think about the challenges that they had, yet still they're up on the walls because of the choices that they made. And so pick your heroes carefully.
Yes, and make wise choices. I love it. Thank you again. It was an honor to have you. I appreciate you having you on here. You've shared some great knowledge. You're doing great work. And thank you, audience, for being a part of the Asset Mindset team. And don't forget, more than anything, always own your power.